time for the classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown as at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings. He snarled with a sneer, "Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here." Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, "I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming." For tomorrow he knew. What did he know? What did he know? All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise. Noise from all those toys. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. Look at that. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something he did not like at all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. Look at all the Whos singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. What do you think it was? I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I will look just like Saint Nick. Look at that. What do you think? Does he look like Santa Claus? Pretty close. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I will make one instead. So he called his dog Max, then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Look at poor Maxie. Oh, what is the Grinch doing? Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lays a snooze in their town. Looky there. All the Who's bundled up, ready for Christmas. But what's coming? All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1. The old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. What is he gonna do? Max doesn't look happy, does he? Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." What is the Grinch doing? That's not very Christmas-like. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Checkerboards and tricycles, popcorns and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimbley. How awful of him. And look, over here, the Who's don't know anything. They're sleeping, sound in their bed. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. Oh. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Look. Took all their good food. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." Oh. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd gotten out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" Little tiny Cindy Lou. So cute. Look at the look on the Grinch's face. Oh, he got caught. What's he gonna do? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. You think he's going to do that? And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney, and he stuffed the tree up. Then, the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was too small for even a mouse. Look at the mouse down there. And he's escaping up the chimney. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses. How awful! Leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. Look at that poor mouse. You see the poor mouse? Poor guy, not a crumb. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, their ribbons, their wrappings, their tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. All of it from all the Who's. Wow, poor Max. What's he gonna do? "3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. Look, he's gonna dump it at the top of Mount Crumpet." "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low. Then it started to grow. What do you think he heard? The sound wasn't sad. Why, this sounded merry. It couldn't be, but it was merry, very merry. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, then he shook when he saw was a shocking surprise. Even Max looks surprised, doesn't he? Look at those eyes. Oh. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. Look at them all singing. Can you believe that? What's going on? The Grinch hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, 3, till his little puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. What do you think? What does Christmas mean to you? Do you think the Grinch is right? Let's ask the Who's. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't quite feel so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. He's bringing it all back. Why? He himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Christmas to me is exactly this book. You don't have to have presents, but you do need presents. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and always, always, always read to your kids. Love you all.